Assalamu alaikum. In this video, I want to discuss a problematic part of Jewish theology, which states that they have this principle that you listen to the majority. And so, if you have 1,000 prophets that reason something regarding the law and 1,001 rabbis who reason something different, you should listen to the rabbis. So, this is very strange. So, we see this explained by Maimonides in his introduction to the Mishnah. He says, as when a prophet follows a reasoning, and one who is not a prophet likewise follows a reasoning, and the prophet says that the Holy One, blessed be He, told me that my reasoning is correct, do not listen to him. Rather, if there are 1,000 prophets, all of them like uh, Elijah and Elisha, following one reasoning, and 1,001 sages following the opposite of that reasoning, we lean towards the many. And the law is like the words of the 1,001 sages, not like the words of the 1,000 glorious prophets. So, in other words, when it comes to reasoning, like reasoning regarding the commandments, I believe, if you have 1,000 prophets of the merit of Elijah that reason something, and you have 1,001 rabbis who reason something else, you follow the majority. So you would follow the sages, the rabbis, and you would disregard the prophets, even though these prophets are claiming that their reasoning is approved from God. Look at this. He writes, and the prophets say that the Holy One, blessed be He, told me that my reasoning is correct. So even if they tell you this reasoning is approved by God, you still don't listen to them. You listen to the sages, the rabbis. They're the majority. And this idea comes from the Talmud, it seems, where there's this rabbi and he's debating the law with a bunch of other rabbis, and he's, the rabbi's alone, so he does some miracles to try and prove his position, etc. And eventually, God himself speaks, and he says that that one rabbi is correct and all the other rabbis are wrong. And the rabbis say that we don't care what God says, basically. That's not how we derive Jewish law. And they cite as evidence this verse in Deuteronomy, it is not in heaven, meaning the Torah is not in heaven, which has nothing to do with the way they're citing it, but that's what they do. And then they say that we must follow the majority of the sages. So even though God said that one rabbi's opinion is correct, the other rabbis who are the majority, we must follow their opinion because the Torah says after a majority to incline, which means you follow the majority. Now the problem is, okay, this verse after a majority to incline, which they're using to prove that you follow the majority, actually says the opposite. If you go to the full verse, it says, you shall not follow a majority in wrongdoing. So they are twisting the verse. And at the end, they have God say, my children have defeated me, my children have defeated me. So what is this? اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله والمسيح ابن مريم وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا إلها واحدا لا إله إلا هو سبحانه عما يشركون. They've taken the rabbis and monks as well as Messiah, son of Mary, as lords besides Allah, even though they were commanded to worship none but one God. There is nothing worthy of worship except Him. Glorified is He above what they associate with Him. So this is speaking about the Jews and the Christians.